KGO 810. Now back to Ethan Bearman.
Well, maybe not the flavored products either, apparently, is what the city is moving toward. Joining me on the phone right now, I have David Sweanor. He is from the Center for Health Law, Policy, and Ethics at the University of Ottawa. David, thanks for coming on the show today.
Very good talk with you, Ethan.
All right, so, one of my things, first off, let's set the stage. What exactly is it that San Francisco wants to ban here?
Well, they've decided that they want to ban all flavors for any tobacco product and for electronic cigarettes. So it's really a prohibition on anything flavored. It's got no gradations about relative risk, the way that we just heard from the Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, Scott Gottlieb, talking about the importance of trying to move people to less hazardous products. This is much more of an abstinence only. We're just going to try to discourage you from using anything.
So in the Bay Area here, I'm pretty sure Berkeley, I know, already banned some of these products. Hayward, Santa Clara County, Sonoma have. So if all of the communities do this, then it won't be as available, right? I mean, does that not have an effect on kids' ability? Because isn't that what the concern is that more and more young people are using these products, which then, has a longer term effect, a la the talcum powder. Right. Those cases have been demonstrated now to cause, at least on a civil basis, to cause cancer. So doesn't the deep lung inhalation of some of these flavored products have the same potential issue?
Well, the problem we have here, Ethan, is exactly what Scott Gottlieb talked about with his announcement from the Food and Drug Administration, just a few days ago, that there's this continuum of risk between products. So, nothing that you inhale into your lungs, in fact, nothing we do in life is completely risk-free. But there's an enormous difference in risk depending on how you get your nicotine, with cigarettes being extraordinarily deadly and other products that are just a tiny fraction of that risk. If you treat them all the same, that whole abstinence-only approach, it's really like running a campaign telling people about all the dangers of condom use. That are you just leading people to do something more dangerous? And in this case, when the large majority of people, certainly in the Bay Area, who are using nicotine are getting it by sucking smoke into their lungs from a cigarette, with over a 50% chance that will eventually kill them and add to the 480,000 Americans dying each year from cigarette smoking, that if they move to non-combustion products, they greatly reduce that risk. But for those products to be viable, they need to be acceptable to smokers, and flavors are a big part of that. So if getting rid of the flavors from cigarettes could be a very good idea by discouraging people from, give another reason not to use a cigarette. But having those flavors in the lower risk products, given that, we've known for a long time cigarette smoking is addictive, there's an awful lot of people who are smoking who aren't just going to quit. So I think it has the same sort of problems we have with abstinence-only campaigns on anything, that if you're trying to do abstinence-only, you run the risk that what you end up with is more dangerous behavior rather than the usual public health approach of where you see a risk, try to reduce it. If somebody's doing something that has a very high probability of killing them, can you get them to do something less risky? Well, and, of course, we're talking about the San Francisco Bay Area. There's a long history of this, whether we're talking about sexual activity, whether we're talking about drug use. What can we do to reduce risk in the population? And abstinence-only campaigns just do not have a very illustrious history of success.
Yeah, it's actually true. And oddly, I'm going to agree with you to some on that statement. David Sweanor is joining me on the phone right now from the Center for Health Law, Policy, and Ethics at the University of Ottawa. We're talking about San Francisco moving forward with banning flavored tobacco sales, because this very kind of specifically what we found, what we've had a problem with is particularly over on the Santa Cruz side of the hills here in the Bay Area is if it's too difficult to find pot, or pot has become expensive due to the legalization, oddly enough, kids have been using heroin because it's so cheap, and which is a far more dangerous, damaging, and killing drug, obviously, than cannabis, which doesn't kill people directly. So oddly, I agree with you on that one. But the issue that I understand that a lot of people are having is this idea that flavors like bubble gum and grape, it gets the kids. We had that whole huge campaign to stop kids from smoking, right? That was so many battles were fought over that. And now we're going to have grape and bubblegum flavored tobacco products which kids are attracted to. And so we've seen that teenagers are increasing the e-cig use while going down in their traditional cigarette use. But we still have the long-term damaging effects there.
Yeah, well, Ethan, I'd say that's the same as somebody saying that condoms can be used to smuggle drugs, so we should ban them. I'd say, yeah, there are some problems, but your banning might create an even bigger problem.
Hang on. The condom, the primary use of a condom isn't that, and the primary use of an e-cigarette is to smoke. So regardless of your target demographic.
It's been to replace smoking. So if we look at the work from places like the Royal College of Physicians, probably the most prestigious medical body in the world, saying that these products are likely to be at least 95% less hazardous than smoking a cigarette. We have the information on smokeless tobacco now saying that the sorts of things sold in the U.S. and certainly the things sold in Sweden are a tiny fraction of the risk of smoking. So if you're trying to reduce risk, and flavors are important for those products, how do you fine-tune legislation? How do you say we are going to try to deal with any problems with kids if we see it? And the data now is showing that youth smoking has plunged to all-time lows in the United States, coincident with the increase in the use of electronic cigarettes. We don't want to do something thinking that we're protecting kids if the data's not actually backing that up, and at the cost of killing their parents and grandparents who would like to get off cigarettes. So that's the fine-tuning of how would you do this so that you're not telling people who are trying to get off cigarettes, we're going to take away your options. We're going to make it less appealing for you to try something other than a cigarette.
Well, selfishly, I prefer that you would smoke an e-cigarette anyway because I can't stand the smell of smoke. It really annoys me.
Or indeed use a lozenge. I mean, and we sell nicotine replacement products with various types of nice flavors. And it's interesting, the abstinence-only people don't get really upset about that, but they're designed to taste better. If you're going to use a Nicorette product, get one that doesn't, taste like crap. Get something that you're more likely to want to use because you're more likely to get off cigarettes. When you talk to the people who are vaping, they're saying, like so many smokers, I don't want to smoke. I don't even like the taste of cigarettes. I'm doing it because I'm addicted. If I can get something that's a different flavor, that's better than having to get something that tastes like a cigarette. And, of course, with electronic cigarettes, with the smokeless tobacco products, if you don't add a flavor to them, they're just not palatable. So what you're doing is you're taking something that's been shown to be a very effective way of people getting off cigarettes, things that are at the low end of that continuum of risk that Dr. Gottlieb talked about that the federal government is wanting to push people toward. You're taking those products and you're making them less appealing, and you're making it less likely that people reduce their risk. And again, the whole concept of what we try to do in public health is that when you see a risk, reduce it. It isn't when you see a way to reduce a risk, eliminate it. We want to generally encourage these things. That I like it if you can wear a helmet on a motorcycle. I think condoms are a great idea. I think that. Seat belts, airbags, crumple zones. I mean, we do all these things that reduce risk. And when we know that people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the smoke, the reason cigarettes are killing 40,000 Americans a month, isn't because of the nicotine. It's because they're sucking smoke into their lungs. It's a dirty delivery system. It's like a dirty needle. Because
of the 40 chemicals that the tobacco companies put in their cigarettes.
Well, it's the smoke. I mean, it's really simple. Ethan, you look at anything where you inhale smoke, it has a high chance of causing diseases and killing you because our lungs just aren't equipped to do that.
Right, and deep lung inhalation of an e-cigarette has the same potential problems, and there's new science that's just coming out on that exact topic. So we have to be careful. I mean, I appreciate the argument against abstinence only because I think that's a valid argument that humans behave in certain ways, and we have to deal with human behavior in that context. Good conversation. Appreciate your time. David Sweanor from the Center for Health Law Policy and Ethics at the University of Ottawa. David, thanks so much for your time today.
Good chatting with you.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that. And I didn't even realize we were going to ban all of that stuff. He's got a point on abstinence only. How well does that work with humans? It kind of doesn't, does it? We have to address it in a risk factor manner.